actually like being recorded later than a lot of these 2.3 stuff. I made a challenge in Unit 3 that made me realize that I couldn't find on the CMU curriculum, I couldn't really find in my videos a really good spot where I talked about counters and counter labels. And it's like a really important skill to have. There are a bunch of exercises that make you use it, but I feel like it's worth talking about a little bit. So this is the Boxer challenge. I'm using the challenge page, not the solution page, not to give anything away, but I do want to talk about this counter thing, which is why I have this note here for myself. So if you want to have some sort of counter, you cannot just create a counter equals 4, or starting at 0, and then go into on mouse press, on mouse release. This has to do with objects and references and local variables and stuff like that, which we're not talking about because it's an intro to programming course and we're not really quite there yet with where this video is in the playlist. But that being said, there is kind of a workaround for it, which is storing your counter inside of a label. Normally labels are used for putting some words on the screen, hello, whatever, but you can actually also store numbers in your labels, and numbers not even as between quotes, but is actually the value itself. And because this is a reference, it's going to let us count as a global variable and do some wonky stuff. So first thing, you got to make a variable for your counter, make a label to count something. And over here, we see that we have the label right over there. It's at 0. There's more to this challenge, but we're just going to do a basic bit to it. So I'm going to actually get rid of these if statements just to kind of see how to use the counter. And we'll have the jab be doing some stuff every single time, just so you can kind of see some action here. On the jab return, I'm also going to get rid of this if statement for now. Okay, so what this program is going to do now is when I run it, every time I click, I'm going to jab at the enemy there, and the counters you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit, you can see every time I click, the counter is going up by 1. So the way to get this sort of setup where you're counting is to first create a label, make sure that you're putting a number in there and not having it in quotes, so you're actually storing a number, and make sure you store all that inside of a variable, a global variable. Next, what you're going to do is use this increment operator, and they do explicitly have that in a lesson, but I just want to talk about a little bit how this works. So this is going to take my count labels value, which is a special property that at least labels have, and that's going to be that first argument inside of the label part, which is normally some words or stuff, but we're going to put a number there. And we're saying that its value is plus equal 1. This is kind of shorthand for the count label's value is going to be equal to its old value plus 1. If I put this here, it's not going to change how my program works whatsoever. But instead of saying I'm going to make my new value equal to the old value plus 1, this is used a lot in programming. So often languages will have a shorthand, which in this case in Python is to say plus equals 1. And what this will do is every time I call on mouse press, my count label's value is going to go up by 1. And you can see that over here by when I run, every time I jab, it goes up by 1. I guess because this is talking about ifs a little bit, this is kind of neat because it allows you to, and if you're still in, actually, all right, this will be a little bit of a foreshadowing. If you're still in Unit 2, this is kind of going to be a little weird. If you're up in Unit 3 or you've seen it already, there's a cool thing you can do with that, which is using these ifs, this thing called an if statement, and I can say if my count, what did I call it? Count label, yep, count label dot value is less than 5, I will jab. And now you have a way of doing a certain thing a certain number of times, but then stop doing that thing afterwards. And let's see what's going to happen now. So every time I press the button, I'm increasing my label value by 1. Every time I release, I'm just resetting my arm, but I'm not changing the value. And also every time I press, I am gonna jab as long as the count value is less than 5. So let's run it one last time just to see how this works. So click jab at 1. Click again, it's 2, I jab. Again, 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 I jab. Now that it's 5, the counter is going to keep going up, but the jab doesn't happen because of our if statement there. So if you're still in unit 2, hopefully that little if statement thing kind of blows your mind a little bit, that you can make decisions about what you do. But also really hopefully you understand how this count label sort of increment situation works. I keep referring to it as count label because I name the variable count label. You can name your variable anything you want as long as you follow variable naming rules. Anyways, at this point I'm just babbling. I hope that was helpful to you, and have a good rest of your day.